When I saw her walking down the courthouse steps in that white dress, clutching the same bouquet I'd picked for my own wedding, I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just stopped breathing. It was like my body refused to accept what my eyes were seeing. My best friend, Aisha, smiling like the world belonged to her. And beside her, the man who was supposed to marry me in 7 days. The sound of the city faded. No traffic, no chatter, just the echo of my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. She held his arm the way I used to. He looked at her the way I had begged him to look at me. And right there, in the middle of that courthouse parking lot, my world cracked clean in half. A few months before that moment, my life had felt simple. Beautiful, even. I was a teacher at a small private school, not glamorous, but I loved it. My mornings started with the smell of jasmine tea and chalk dust, and my evenings ended in laughter with my fiancé Rayhan. He wasn't perfect, no one is, but I thought he was mine. We'd met at a friend's engagement party 2 years earlier. He'd spilled tea on my new dress, and I'd spent the rest of that night teasing him about it. He had this nervous smile, the kind that always made me feel seen, even in a crowded room. Aisha was there that night too, my closest friend since university. We were like sisters. We'd shared apartments, secrets, heartbreaks. She was bold where I was cautious, funny where I was quiet. People used to say we balanced each other out. When Rayhan proposed to me, Aisha was the first person I told. She jumped, screamed, hugged me so tight I could barely breathe. She offered to help plan everything, from the color scheme to the guest list. And honestly, I was grateful. I trusted her more than anyone. Our evenings were filled with wedding calls and Pinterest boards. She'd sit cross-legged on my sofa, hair tied up, sipping wine while scrolling through bridal dresses. "You need something soft," she'd say. "You're gentle lace, not glitter." And I'd laugh. "You sound more excited than me." She'd grin and reply, "Maybe I just want to make sure it's perfect for you." Looking back, I realized there was a certain tightness in her smile when she said it. Something I was too blinded by love and friendship to notice. The first strange moment came during a dress fitting. I'd chosen a simple ivory gown. Nothing extravagant, just elegant and timeless. I wanted Rayhan to look at me and see peace, not spectacle. Aisha came with me to the boutique. The tailor adjusted the waistline while Aisha sat by the mirror, phone in hand, pretending to take pictures. I twirled once shyly. "So, what do you think?" She smiled too wide. "Beautiful," she said. Almost like I could wear it myself. We laughed, but something about the way she said it lingered. Later that night, she posted a story, just a short video of the boutique, the gowns shimmering under soft light, with the caption, "One day soon it'll be me." I didn't think much of it then. We joked like that all the time. But now, remembering that post makes my stomach twist. Rayhan and Aisha got along well, maybe too well. Sometimes during wedding meetings, they'd start talking about things I wasn't even aware of. His favorite songs, childhood stories, old cricket matches. She seemed to know him on levels I hadn't reached yet. Once, I teased him about it. "I think you and Aisha are closer than I thought," I'd said with a laugh. He smiled, dismissive. "She's your best friend, Maya. We're all just one family now, aren't we?" It sounded sweet at the time. But love makes you slow. It makes you trust people who shouldn't be trusted. A week before our wedding, Aisha started acting different. She missed 2 of our final fittings, saying she was sick. Then she stopped answering my calls for a day or 2. I figured it was stress. She had her own life after all. Rayhan too became distant. He was busy with work. Long hours. Late replies. That kind of thing. My mother told me, "Men get nervous before weddings, Beta. Don't overthink." And I tried not to. Still, something felt off. It was small things, the way Rayhan avoided eye contact, how Aisha's messages turned shorter, colder. The way my gut whispered at night when the world went quiet. Something's wrong. I brushed it off. I'd waited so long for happiness. I refused to ruin it with suspicion. 3 days before the wedding, I stopped by Aisha's apartment with flowers. She hadn't been returning my calls, and I missed her. The door was unlocked. She'd always been careless like that, so I stepped inside. The apartment was unusually clean, like she'd been expecting company. On the coffee table, 2 half-empty cups of tea, My favorite brand, but she didn't drink it. Then I saw something on the sofa. A white envelope. Inside, a folded court document. At first, I thought it was a mistake. The heading said, Certificate of Marriage. My eyes scanned the names. Rehan Ahmed. Aisha Khan. Dated last week. My hands shook so violently I dropped the paper. For a moment, I thought I'd gone mad. My breath came in gasps, the kind you get when you're drowning. I wanted to scream, but the sound that came out of me was more like a wounded animal. I called Rehan. No answer. I called again. Still nothing. I called her. She answered, calm, steady, as if she'd been waiting for it. Maya, she said softly. I was going to tell you. Tell me what, Aisha? My voice cracked. That you married my fiancé? A pause. Then a sigh. You don't understand. It wasn't supposed to happen this way. I remember staring at my reflection in her hallway mirror. Hair messy, eyes red, wondering who that woman even was. How was it supposed to happen? I whispered. Were you planning to let me walk down the aisle first? She didn't reply. Just silence, and then the quiet click of her hanging up. That night, I sat on my kitchen floor until sunrise. My phone buzzed 100 times. Messages from guests, family, caterers, all asking about final details. But the one call I needed never came. When the morning light hit the window, I stood up, grabbed my car keys, and drove to the courthouse. And that's where I saw them, walking down those steps, hand in hand, wearing smiles like nothing had happened. I didn't cry. I didn't shout. I just watched, and made myself a promise. They might have stolen my wedding, but they wouldn't steal my voice. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat on the edge of my bed, the wedding dress hanging in the corner like a ghost. It used to make me feel like a bride, now it just mocked me, soft fabric glimmering in the dark. Every few minutes, my phone lit up. Not from them, no. It was my mother, my cousins, the planner, all asking if the ceremony was still on. I couldn't bring myself to answer. What could I even say? That my best friend, the woman who'd helped pick the color of my bangles and written my vows with me, had stolen my wedding right from under me? I remember opening my laptop, typing Rehan's name into the local court record search. It took 3 tries before I saw it. Marriage license filed. Aisha Khan and Rehan Ahmed. Filed exactly 7 days before my own wedding date. 7 days. The next morning, I went to my mother's house. She was making parathas, humming an old song, the kitchen smelling like comfort. She turned when she saw me. Beta, what happened? You look pale. I didn't answer right away. I just handed her the court paper. She read it once, frowned, then again, slower. The color drained from her face. No, this can't be. It is. I sat down at the table. They got married last week. Behind my back. She sank into the chair across from me, hand over her mouth. But, Aisha? She's like a daughter to me. She used to call me Amy. I know. I tried to smile, but my lips trembled. Turns out daughters can have sharp teeth. We sat in silence for a while. The only sound was the frying pan hissing on the stove. Then she said quietly, You have to face them. Don't let shame eat you alive. Her words hit something deep. I'd been hiding, curling into the pain. But my mother was right. I needed to look the betrayal in the eye. 2 days later, I went to their apartment. It used to be mine and Rehan's dream home. We'd picked it together. He said he wanted a balcony where we could drink morning coffee. Now the curtains I'd chosen hung in their windows. I knocked. Aisha opened the door, still wearing that same calm mask. Her hair was perfect. Her lipstick matched the one she'd borrowed from me a month ago. Maya, she said softly, like she was comforting me. I wanted to slap that softness right off her face. Can we talk? I asked, my voice tight. She stepped aside. Of course. Rehan wasn't there. The living room was tidy. Our old photo from the engagement dinner was still on the wall. Only now, Aisha's face had been framed beside his. How long? I asked. She didn't answer right away. How long, Aisha? Her fingers fidgeted with her bracelet. Almost a year, she said finally. A year. I felt like I'd been punched. A year? While you were helping me plan a wedding with him. Tears welled in her eyes, crocodile tears. It just happened. He came to me when you two fought. You didn't see how unhappy he was. I laughed sharp, bitter. Unhappy? He was the one who begged me to stay after every argument. She looked down. I didn't plan to hurt you. I just... Stop. I held up my hand. Don't say it. Don't ruin the little dignity I have left. Her eyes hardened. You think you're the victim, but you were never right for him. He needed someone stronger. There it was, the truth beneath her fake tears. It wasn't about love. It was about winning. About being chosen. I turned to leave, but she added, and before you embarrass yourself, you should know, if you go public with this, people will find out what you did. I froze. What I did? She smirked. You know what I mean. But I didn't. Not then. When I left, my hands were shaking. I didn't understand what she meant, but I'd soon find out. The next day, rumors began to spread. At first, small things, whispers from mutual friends. A message from one of my colleagues. I heard you cheated on him first. Is that true? My stomach dropped. Then came the posts, subtle but cutting. Screenshots of private messages twisted out of context, captions implying I'd been unfaithful to Rayhan. I scrolled, numb, as my own friends liked and commented beneath her carefully crafted lies. And then she posted it. A photo of her and Rayhan, beaming, rings glimmering under courthouse light. Caption. True love always finds its way, no matter how many lies try to stop it. I felt sick. She wasn't just taking my fiancé. She was taking my reputation, my voice, my truth. That evening, my phone buzzed again, this time from a private number. I answered. Silence for a second. Then a man's voice. You don't know me, but you should know what she did. My heart pounded. Who is this? He hesitated. She blackmailed him, Maya. Aisha blackmailed Rayhan into marrying her. What? She found something, an old family issue, something about his father's business. She threatened to expose it if he didn't marry her. I was his co-worker. He told me before he left the office that day. My spoon. And he agreed? He said he had no choice. But he wasn't exactly innocent either. He'd been seeing her long before that. Before I could ask more, the line went dead. I sat there, the phone trembling in my hand. It didn't make sense. Or maybe it did. Maybe everything I thought I knew about love was a lie carefully constructed between two selfish people. Still, I needed proof. If Aisha was capable of blackmailing him, maybe she'd left traces behind. I remembered all the times she'd borrowed my laptop, saying hers was too slow. I turned it on, heart racing, and searched through old folders. After a few minutes, I found an unsent draft in her email, titled simply, Rayhan's Truth. Inside were attached photos, scanned documents, emails, one in particular that made my blood run cold. A copy of a letter from Rayhan's father's company admitting to fraud. And below it her words. If you don't do what I say, your father's name will be destroyed. I stared at it for a long time, the pieces clicking into place. She hadn't just stolen him. She'd cornered him. Used his guilt, his fear, his weakness. But she'd also underestimated me. Because that night, I made a new promise. Not to win him back, not to seek revenge for love lost, but to make sure she never ruined another life again. That night, I sat in the dark, the glow of my laptop screen flickering across my face. The email draft sat open, her words like venom. If you don't do what I say, your father's name will be destroyed. For a long time I just stared. My heart wasn't racing anymore. It was steady, cold. The kind of calm that only comes when something inside you finally breaks and reforms. It wasn't about love anymore. It was about truth. And for once, I wasn't the victim in her story. I copied the files onto a flash drive, locked them away in a small box, and wrote a single note inside it. If anything happens to me, this goes public. The next morning, I went to see someone who'd once meant a lot to me, Detective Samir Malik. We'd gone to university together, lost touch after graduation. I didn't know if he'd help me, but I had to try. He met me in a small cafe downtown, wearing his usual half-serious, half-tired expression. When he saw the look on my face, his own softened. Maya, he said, sitting down. It's been years. You okay? I slid the flash drive across the table. Not really. But I need your help. He looked at it, then at me. What's this? Proof, I said. Of blackmail, fraud, and possibly worse. He raised a brow. Start from the beginning. And so I did. From the wedding that never happened, to Aisha's manipulation, to the anonymous call the night before. He listened quietly, not interrupting. Then he leaned back, sighing. You understand that if what you're saying is true, this isn't just personal. It's criminal. I know, I said. That's why I came to you. He nodded, slipping the drive into his pocket. I'll look into it. But Maya, he paused, choosing his words carefully. Don't expect this to fix everything overnight. People like her? They don't break easily. I'm not asking for easy, I said, my voice calm. I just want the truth to breathe. A week passed. Then two. During that time, I stayed mostly indoors. My name was still tangled in gossip. Half-truths whispered at weddings, in WhatsApp groups, on social media. Every time I opened my phone, there she was, Aisha Ahmed, all smiles and charity posts, painting herself as the perfect wife. But something was shifting. Slowly, subtly, comments began appearing beneath her posts. Didn't you used to be Maya's best friend? Funny how you got married so fast. People talk, Aisha. You should clear your name before it's too late. I didn't write them. I didn't have to. The world was starting to see the cracks. Then one night Samir called. My stomach dropped. Then came the posts, subtle but cutting. Screenshots of private messages twisted out of context, captions implying I'd been unfaithful to Rayhan. I scrolled, numb, as my own friends liked and commented beneath her carefully crafted lies. And then she posted it. A photo of her and Rayhan, beaming, rings glimmering under courthouse light. Caption. True love always finds its way, no matter how many lies try to stop it. I felt sick. She wasn't just taking my fiancé. She was taking my reputation, my voice, my truth. That evening my phone buzzed again, this time from a private number. I answered. Silence for a second. Then a man's voice. You don't know me, but you should know what she did. My heart pounded. Who is this? He hesitated. She blackmailed him, Maya. Aisha blackmailed Rayhan into marrying her. What? She found something. An old family issue, something about his father's business. She threatened to expose it if he didn't marry her. I was his co-worker. He told me before he left the office that day. My spoon. And he agreed? He said he had no choice. But he wasn't exactly innocent either. He'd been seeing her long before that. Before I could ask more, the line went dead. I sat there, the phone trembling in my hand. It didn't make sense. Or maybe it did. Maybe everything I thought I knew about love was a lie carefully constructed between two selfish people. Still, I needed proof. If Aisha was capable of blackmailing him, maybe she'd left traces behind. You should come by, he said. His tone was clipped, serious. There's something you need to see. When I arrived, he handed me a folder. Inside were printed screenshots, the ones from the flash drive, but also something new, a digital trail. She didn't just blackmail him, he said. She laundered money from his father's company using shell accounts. Rayhan signed off on some of them, probably under pressure, but she kept records. Smart woman, dumb choice. My throat went dry. So she's guilty? More than that. She's dangerous. But if you want this to go public, you need to be ready. Once it starts, there's no undoing it. I thought for a long moment. Then I said, do it. The next few days moved fast. Samir quietly passed the information to a journalist, someone who specialized in corruption cases. Within a week, a story broke. Businesswoman Aisha Ahmed implicated in financial fraud and blackmail scandal. Her smiling wedding photos were now side by side with the words criminal investigation. The internet turned savage overnight. Her followers dropped by the thousands. Her company froze her accounts. People who once praised her started deleting their comments, pretending they never knew her. And then came the headline that hit hardest. Husband of accused speaks out. I clicked it. Rayhan stood outside the courthouse, eyes tired, his hair unkempt. She trapped me, he said to the cameras. I wanted to tell the truth sooner, but she threatened my family. I'm sorry to Maya. I should have protected her instead of hiding behind fear. For a second, I felt something flicker, pity maybe, but it died quickly, because sorry doesn't unbreak a heart. That night, I sat by the window of my apartment, the same one I once shared with Rayhan, and watched the city lights blur through tears I didn't realize I'd been holding back. I didn't feel victorious, just free. Sometimes justice doesn't feel like fireworks. It feels like silence, a deep exhale after years of being unheard. I thought about calling him, asking why, asking if he ever truly loved me. But I didn't. Because some answers only reopen wounds that have finally begun to close. 2 months passed. I moved to a new city, started working with a women's advocacy group, helping those who'd been silenced by people like Aisha. One day, as I was leaving the office, a woman stopped me. She looked nervous, holding a folded piece of paper. You're Maya, right? She asked. I nodded. I saw your story online. What you did, it gave me courage. She pressed the paper into my hand. She hurt me too, years ago. When she left, I unfolded it. Inside was a photo, Aisha and a different man, dated 4 years before Rayhan. So it wasn't her first time. It was just the first time she got caught. A few months later, I got another message, this time from Samir. Case closed. It read. She's been sentenced. Rayhan turned state witness. You're officially clear. I stared at the message, letting it sink in. And for the first time in a long time I smiled. Not out of revenge. Not out of victory. But peace. Because sometimes karma doesn't need your help. It just needs your patience. That weekend, I packed my things and went to visit my mother. She greeted me at the door with tears in her eyes and a trembling smile. I saw the news, she said softly, hugging me. You did what I couldn't, you faced it. I hugged her back. No, Ami. I just survived it. She pulled away, cupping my face. And that's enough. Later that evening, I walked through the neighborhood park, the same one where Aisha and I used to sit, dreaming about our futures. I passed the old bench where she once told me, we'll never let anyone come between us. Funny, in the end, she became the anyone. I sat down, looking at the fading sky. The air smelled like rain. And for the first time, I didn't feel broken, just whole. Because some betrayals don't destroy you. They reveal you. As the sun disappeared behind the trees, I whispered into the wind. Not to Rayhan, not to her, but to the girl I used to be. You're safe now. And in that quiet moment, I finally believed it. 3 years later, I had stopped marking time by pain. My life had rebuilt itself in quiet, ordinary ways. I had a modest apartment filled with second-hand furniture and plants that somehow kept surviving despite my forgetfulness. I worked full-time at the Women's Advocacy Center, and on weekends I volunteered at a shelter for young girls who'd been through betrayal, coercion, or domestic deceit. People often asked why I did it, why I spent my days listening to stories of hurt when I had finally healed from my own. But that's the thing about healing. It isn't about escaping pain. It's about transforming it into something that helps someone else survive. It was late one afternoon when my phone rang. The number was unfamiliar, but local. I almost didn't answer. Hello. A hesitant voice spoke. Maya? It's Rayhan. For a moment, the world tilted slightly. I hadn't heard that voice in years. Not since the trial, not since I'd buried that part of my life. Rayhan, I said softly. Why are you calling me? He exhaled shakily. I didn't know if I should, but I thought you should hear it from me. Aisha, she's out. Early release. My hand went cold around the phone. What? They said good behavior. I didn't want you to find out through the papers. Silence stretched between us. Then finally I said, thank you for telling me. He paused. I'm sorry, Maya. For everything. For being too weak to stop her. For letting you get hurt. There was no bitterness left in my voice when I answered. You already said that once. I know, he said quietly. But back then, I was saying it out of guilt. Now I'm saying it because I understand. I didn't ask what he meant. Maybe he'd learned his own lessons. Maybe not. Either way, his path was no longer mine to walk. We ended the call with polite words, strangers who once thought they'd share a lifetime. A week later, I was speaking at a local conference on women's empowerment. After my talk, a few attendees came up to thank me, shake my hand, share small stories. Then from the corner of my eye, I saw her. Aisha. She stood at the back of the room, wearing a simple beige shalwar kameez, her once perfect hair now cut short and uneven. There was no makeup, no jewelry, only a paper folder in her hand and a faint tremor in her posture. For a moment my breath caught. The old ache stirred. Not anger, just the ghost of it. When the room emptied, she stepped forward slowly. "You look good, Maya." I studied her. The woman before me wasn't the glossy, confident friend I'd once known. Her eyes looked hollow, like someone who'd spent too long trying to remember who she was before the lies. "I didn't expect to see you here," I said carefully. "I didn't expect to come," she admitted, lowering her gaze. "I've been trying to do things right. Start over." I nodded, unsure what to say. She reached into her folder and handed me a letter, neatly folded, written in the same elegant handwriting I used to envy. "I wrote this inside," she said softly. "I didn't know if you'd ever read it." I took it but didn't open it right away. "Why give it to me now?" "Because," she said, her voice trembling, "every night in that cell I thought about what I did to you. Not just the wedding, but everything. I thought about how I took the one person who truly trusted me and used her as a shield for my own insecurities." I stayed silent, letting her speak. "I wanted to win, Maya. Not because I loved him, but because I couldn't stand being second. You were always the one people admired. The one who had grace, who made others feel seen. I thought if I took what you had, I'd finally be enough." Her eyes glistened. "But all I did was destroy myself." For the first time in years, I saw not the villain, but the broken girl beneath the armor. I asked quietly, "What do you want from me, Aisha?" She shook her head. "Nothing. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. Not to fix it, because I know I can't, but to free myself from the version of me that hurt you." The silence between us was long, heavy, and human. Finally I said, "I forgive you." Her eyes widened. "You do?" "Yes. But not for you." I met her gaze steadily. "For me. Because I won't carry this story like a wound anymore. It's just a chapter now. One that taught me how to live without needing anyone's validation." Aisha's lips trembled. She nodded, tears spilling down her cheeks. "You really are stronger than I ever was." "No," I said gently. "I just learned how to stop confusing revenge with freedom." When she left, I sat alone in that empty hall for a while, staring at the letter in my hand. Eventually, I unfolded it. Her words were messy, full of regret and half-finished thoughts, but they were real. She wrote about her father's gambling debts, the pressure to maintain appearances, how she'd fallen into a cycle of lies so deep she couldn't tell truth from survival. At the end she wrote, "If you ever think of me, I hope it's not with hate, but with pity, because hate keeps us tied to the same chain. And I don't want to drag you down anymore." I folded the letter again, placed it in my bag, and walked outside. The air smelled like rain, again, as it had the day I'd found peace years ago. The world was quiet, except for the soft rustle of leaves and the sound of my own breath. That night, I went home and lit a candle by the window. I thought of all the versions of me that had lived through this story. The hopeful girl buying wedding rings. The broken woman standing before betrayal. The quiet survivor learning how to live again. And now the healed one. I took the letter, held it over the flame for a second, then let it burn in the sink. Not out of anger, but closure. The paper curled, turned to ash, and drifted away, just like the pain that once defined me. A few weeks later, I received an invitation in the mail. Samir was getting married, to a woman he'd met at one of our seminars. The card was handwritten, simple, full of warmth. At the wedding, as laughter filled the room, I realized something. Love wasn't something to chase or compete for. It was something that met you once you'd stopped needing to win. When the music slowed, he came over and said quietly, "You look happy, Maya." "I am," I said, smiling. "Finally." Later that night, standing under the soft glow of fairy lights, I looked up at the sky. The stars seemed closer somehow, like they'd been waiting for me to notice them again. I whispered, "Thank you." Not to anyone in particular, just to life. For the lessons, the losses, the rediscovery of myself. Because betrayal may have stolen my wedding, but it couldn't steal my peace. And maybe, just maybe, that was the real victory all along. Sometimes, life teaches us lessons in the most humiliating ways. I used to think betrayal was the worst thing that could happen to a person. But now I know, staying broken after betrayal is worse. Because that's when you let someone else's choices define your worth. When Aisha stole my wedding, I thought she had stolen my future too. But she didn't. She only took the illusion I'd built. The idea that love and happiness depended on another person's loyalty. What she gave me instead, though it took years to understand, was clarity. I learned that peace isn't loud. It doesn't arrive with apologies or confessions or revenge. It arrives quietly. The first morning you wake up and realize your heart doesn't ache anymore. And forgiveness isn't about saying, "It's okay." Because some things aren't. Forgiveness is about saying, "It's over." I don't tell this story to make anyone feel sorry for me. I tell it because someone out there might be sitting in the same darkness I once did, staring at a phone, wondering how everything they trusted fell apart so fast. To that person, I want to say this. You will survive it. Not by pretending you're fine, but by walking through the pain until it no longer controls you. Betrayal changes us. It hardens some, humbles others, and awakens a few. I chose to let it awaken me. Now when I look back, I don't see a story about revenge or humiliation. I see a story about becoming my own peace. About learning that self-respect is the most beautiful vow you'll ever keep. Even if no one's there to witness it. So if you're listening tonight, and your heart feels heavy with someone else's lies, remember this. You can lose everything and still come out whole. Because wholeness doesn't come from what we have, but from what we learn to live without. Would you have forgiven her, if you were me? Tell me in the comments below. And if my story found its way to your heart tonight, make sure you subscribe. Because next time, I'll tell you how a stranger's kindness brought back my faith and love. Until then, take care of your peace. Because no one can steal it, unless you let them.